ESPN's exclusive coverage of the world title chase of the Association of Surfing Professionals World Tour. Aloha and welcome to the North Shore of Oahu in the Hawaiian Islands for this round number 1 of Hawaii's Triple Crown Series, round number 23 of the Association of Surfing Professionals World Tour. Today, it is the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing. Hello everyone, I'm David Stanfield. Joining me, noted big wave Hawaiian star Mark Fu. Mark, the venue here, Sunset Beach, perfect location for surfing, very consistent.
Well, Hard Rock must have some kind of connection with the gods, because every year since they started this event, the waves just gotten better and better for them. And this year is right on track with their record. It's the biggest and the best it's been yet. It's truly maxed out sunset, 10, 15 feet. There's a lot of water moving out there, open ocean swell. It's very powerful, very treacherous, and it's going to be extremely challenging, to say the least.
Challenging for the surfers, incentive for the surfers right now, $80,000 again. There's a brand new automobile they're giving away for first place, a four-wheel drive automobile, $8,000 in prize money, and the problem they have is impressing the judges.
Well, right, Dave, what these surfers have to do, number one, they have to go out there and find these waves. It's very tricky, shifty lineup, but they're very spread out. It's kind of like you're in the middle of the ocean. Everything's moving around. But what the judges want to see are those big radical maneuvers in the most critical section of the waves, and of course they want to see those long rides. Length of ride, a very important factor in the judging criteria. So the surfers are up against the competitors. They're trying to impress the judges, and also they're out there against the forces of nature.
The top surfers in the world are here. In fact, the man that has dominated professional surfing all year long, 6 big wins for Martin Potter. He is closing in on the world title, but he just needs a few more points. We'll keep an eye on his progress. First, let's take a look at early round action. Outstanding surfing at the Hard Rock. The quarterfinals featured 4-man heats. The top 2 advanced into the semis. The field of competitors featured the hot new guns and some of the established big wave veterans. Quarterfinal number 1, Michael Mungaberry with a 26-point ride out of a total 30. Munga had to surf through the trials, 5 heats to make it into the quarters.
Aussie Mitch Thorson picking up incredible waves coming through the inside. 2 rides, great ride. Local favorite Derek Coe carving up at home surf on his backside of Sunset Beach.
Then quarterfinal number 2 saw Ted Robinson out of Manhattan Beach. Started off strong, but poor wave selection, and he went down. Former world champion Barton Lynch. A reserve heat, no big moves, he was defeated.
Another Australian, Rob Bain, got some incredible takeoffs from the outside and some big moves carving up the inside. Richard Schmidt continued to dominate after a less than perfect start, came back carving high off the lip.
In quarterfinal number 3, Sonny Garcia went for the heavy drops and the big maneuvers, barely missing this final floater. Many felt that he had a chance. He would have made it all the way through the final. 87 world champion Damian Hardman missing both in wave count and wave selection.
Mr. Sunset Beach, Gary Oakton, high and tight in the pocket. Hedemann did enough on his last scoring wave to make it to the semis.
In quarterfinal heat number 4, Mike Latronic from Hawaii scored the highest scoring wave of the day but did not advance. Tom Carroll surfed with his usual typical flair but paid the price.
Marty Thomas picked up some smaller waves and pulled off some big maneuvers. Martin Potter in his bid for the world title, continuing with his winning tradition to win quarterfinal number 4.
And here are the first 4 advancing to semifinal number 1. In semifinal number 2, Martin Potter stays alive. It's been a long season on the Association of Surfing Professionals World Tour. They visited 10 different countries already. Now, this is stop number 23, and Martin Potter has been the dominant force, 6 big wins. But, Mark, realistically, there are 3 surfers going for the title. Well,
you know, Martin's out in front, obviously, in the driver's seat, but you've got Dave McCauley, who's also won several events this year. He's right on his tail in the number 2 slot. But I tell you, the man Martin's really probably watching for is Derek Coe. Derek here in home surf, 2-time Triple Crown champion. And Derek, mathematically alive coming into Hawaii in the Triple Crown, has got to be feeling pretty confident.
Now, most of these guys do their talking by surfing, but we did catch up with Martin Potter at Honolulu's Hard Rock Cafe prior to the contest.
For Potter, this year has been a turnaround season with a complete change in attitude and drive.
You know, a lot of people said that I'd never ever get where I'm at. and you know, trying to prove everyone wrong would be the wrong thing to do. All I want to do is prove to myself that I can do it, and deep down I know I can do it, because you know, I have the ability to surf as good as anyone, but it's just the mental part of the thing which I didn't have under control. And I mean, as soon as I got that under control, my whole year's changed around, and right now I'm handling a lot of pressure that I didn't really think about, and I never really had before. So it's pretty difficult at the moment, but you know, I'm not going to give up till it's over.
Another coveted championship in Hawaii is the Triple Crown, and we talked to ASP VP Randy Rarick about the title.
Well, the interesting thing about the Triple Crown, it links three major autonomous events together. We have the World Cup, the Pipe Masters, and the Hawaiian Pro. And those three events make up a series that we do call the Triple Crown. And what it actually does is prove not only who a good surfer is, but who the best surfer in Hawaii during the winter season is. Last year, Derek Ho was the most consistent. The year before, Gary Elkerton was. Be interesting to see this year, you know, here in big wave conditions at Sunset combined with Pipeline, and then who knows where for the Billabong event. But it's really important for the surfers to obviously win the World Championship, but to prove their worth here in Hawaii is what really gives their reputation.
Martin Potter, for years known as a tremendous free surfer, putting it all together in competition this year. We'll be right back with semifinal action right after this as the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing continues. In semifinal number one, we saw a couple of Australians, a famous local Hawaiian past Triple Crown winner, but it was a California, surprising enough, that really dominated.
Richie, an incredible role this season, 13 straight heat wins in a row.
And those 13 wins netted him the '89 XL Pro Championship in Hawaii. And look at this drop. He captured the highest scoring wave, a 27 out of 30, taking the biggest drop and working the inside section.
Well, you know, Schmidt had to come through the trials and just built momentum throughout this event and just carved his way in this semifinal. Another trialist, Michael Berry, throwing a big wave from the outside, came all the way across the outside bowl, connecting it to the middle, some big moves across the giant faces. Really impressive for a newcomer.
And we saw Derek Ho, the former three-time Hawaiian Triple Crown champion, get some big waves that really didn't connect to the inside.
Well, anything can happen out there at Sunset. It's just no matter how much knowledge you have, luck is always a factor. The Australian backsider, Rob Bain, had some good high-performance moves across the inside walls.
Robbie Bain, 3 ASP career wins, only one this year, one in Portugal.
Well, unfortunately for Bain, the outside got the better of him as he took off a little bit too late a couple of times and just ate his lunch.
So advancing into the finals, two surfers, big wave specialist out of Santa Cruz, Richard Schmidt, and the young rookie sensation out of Australia, Michael Mungaberry. Semifinalists Elkerton, Hedemann, Potter, and Thomas made to the water next, and it was Martin Potter on the big wave here, but not a lot of points.
Well, Potter going through the inside here, and he was having a lot of success inside there, but on the outside it was really some survival conditions, and Potter was just like anybody else, whether you're the leader or not, you just get wiped off the face of the map when that whitewater hits you.
And the young, talented local Marty Thomas in his home break here, but really not getting all the waves he needed.
Gary Elkerton, in spite of this wipeout where he claimed he nearly drowned, held under for a full minute, showed some true resiliency that came back just to dominate the rest of the semifinal with great waves like this one.
And Gary Elkerton trying to finish high in this event. Only 6 ASP wins, and a second is his best finish this year.
Hans Hedemann, who was back in some of the finest form anybody has seen him for a long time. He was in home surf. He had a local crowd behind him. And Hans just, in the semifinals, proved that he was going to be the man to beat.
Two powerful surfers here at Sunset. Hans Hedemann and Gary Elkerton advanced to the finals. As for Martin Potter, going after the world title, we'll just have to wait and see. He was eliminated, not enough points. He might win it at the Bonsai Pipeline. As we get set for the finals right now, the surfboard obviously is the tool of the trade for professional surfers, and earlier we caught up with Hans Hedemann and his shaper, Chuck Andrus.
I've been shaping Hans's board for over 10 years now, and over that period of time is when we developed our relationship. I'd go out surfing, I'd watch Hans surf, and saw how I could maybe, help with shaping the boards and improving his style and things, he'd give me a lot of feedback, and that was something that I thought was really important.
Knowing that I can, feel confident with the shape works hand in hand with my ability. For me, what I look for is I look for a board that I'm very confident with. I look for, if the waves are so big and I want to do what I want to do on the wave, I look for that assurance. I look for the guarantee in it.
I think if you're a surfer shaper, and especially being in Hawaii, and you can experience the drop of a 15-foot face or a 20-foot face on a big wave, that you could be more confident in giving these pros these boards that they're going to go out on and risk their lives on, instead of not surfing these type of waves and not really knowing, except for what they tell you, how it feels.
When I jump on a board and I start to ride it, what I'm looking for is I'm not looking to feel anything with the board. My eyes want to go at a particular part of the wave. I want to just turn and be there. And if my board delays that by a second or a fraction of a second, it's going to delay the next turn and the next turn and the next turn beyond that. And what I'll do is I'll try the board. I'll put in a number of hours. And if there's any delays or anything that I feel is sticky with the board, then what I'll do is I'll work with my shaper, with Chuck, and we will make another board and see if we can perfect it.
We are set for the finals of the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing, and exciting finals indeed. But we have 2 trialists out of the 4 finalists. Let's talk about those guys. They paid their dues.
We're talking about Richard Schmidt and Michael Berry, who have come through from the trials, not only to make the main event, but here to make it all the way to the finals, and that's quite an accomplishment.
Richard Schmidt, big wave rider from California. Michael Berry, the young upstart from Australia, going up against 2 seasoned veterans, past champions here.
Right. You're talking about Hans Hedemann, who's here, a homeboy, home surf for him. He's feeling very strong, very confident. And then Gary Elkerton, of course, who over the last 2 years has been considered the man here at Sunset Beach. So this is going to be one of the hottest finals of all time.
They've made their way into the lineup. Now let's go to the finals of the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing. And in position first is Gary Elkerton out of Queensland, Australia. Gary with 6 big victories to his credit, and look at the size of this wave.
Well, Elkerton's looking for the kind of waves that are going to suit the judges' criteria. He wants to get those big, radical control maneuvers in the most critical section of the biggest and/or best wave with the longest distance possible. So Elkerton's doing exactly that right here, setting up for a big off the lip. Bam! Pulls that one off. The judges like that. Great way to start the final.
Great for the length of the ride, all the way to the inside. Here's Hans Hedemann, the local boy. They call him Hot Rod.
Well, Hans picked up this wave right to the middle part of the outside, where he knows the better waves are going to be lining up to the inside. Here, Hans gets that clean inside face, carves it off the bottom, slams it off the top, high-speed turns. Good high-scoring opening wave for Hans Hedemann.
Very gutsy performances over the years here. ABC Sports used to cover him, and that's when they dubbed him Hot Rods Hans. Here's Richard Schmidt out of Santa Cruz, California, big wave specialist.
Well, Schmidt, no stranger at Sunset Beach. Actually, he's been in the finals of this event 2 other times previously. And Schmidt, as I said earlier, been on a roll throughout this entire season, having won 13 straight heats coming into this final. And I'm sure he wants to win this one more than any other. Big floater there, goes for that, but didn't quite hold on to it.
Ideal conditions here today on the beach, out in the water. It is very rough, and here is Michael Berry, the young rookie who's not even in the top 50. A look back quickly at Richard Schmidt.
A couple of years ago, a maneuver like this would have been considered unheard of at Sunset Beach. Here, Richard Schmidt trying to do a floater on some big survival conditions at Sunset and unable to pull it off.
Scores after the first wave. Gary Elkerton in the lead as the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing finals continue. Welcome back to the North Shore of Oahu, the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing. We are into the finals right now of this $80,000 event. And look at the size of these waves. Gary Elkerton maintains his lead, and they are now out the back searching for their 3rd scoring wave, and this is Gary Elkerton.
Well, Elkerton's found his 3rd wave, and so far in this final it's been basically a show between Elkerton and Hedemann, both of them former World Cup champions. Here, Elkerton showing his local knowledge of the spot. Hans Hedemann, his 3rd wave right behind Elkerton. A similar wave, Hans working his way to the inside, hanging on through that turbulent whitewater.
And Hans Hedemann making his way in. Judges watching both surfers. Here's Gary Elkerton further to the inside. There's Hans Hedemann.
Like I said, that Hans's wave looks a little bit bigger, so most likely with comparable maneuvers, but Gary getting a good cutback off there, Hans will probably score higher since the wave looks like it's bigger in the second wave of the set. Hans continues to work this wave all the way onto the inside channel, trying to deal with the shock here as he goes down, but that was pretty hot. Able to reconnect with his board and continue with the ride. Great high-scoring ride for Hans Hedemann.
Two good waves for both Hans Hedemann and Gary Elkerton. Let's look at Elkerton's wave, picking off the first of the set. 21.5 points the judges give him, and that is a great scoring wave out of a total possible of 30. And the view from the beach, you can see all the water moving around there. Good size swell, 8 to 10 foot surf, they're calling it. A big closeout.
Well, out the back, Richard Schmid takes off late and deep and was able to drive around that huge section. Some of the people from the beach are unable to see that because of the waves in front, but here Richie drives way out in front of the wave, brings it back around. This is vintage Richard Schmid. Precise positioning, setting himself up for the inside. See what he can do with the inside wall.
Richard Schmid, who actually is from California but spends the winter months in Hawaii because he loves the big surf. Out the back now we have Michael Mungaberry, the rookie pro, his third wave.
Well, Munga's been a little bit behind this heat because it looked like he got caught in a rip and was just been completely out of position. And here he's trying to make up for some lost ground and unfortunately getting a wave that's just not going to line up for him.
That wave of Richard Schmid just earlier, I thought it was a big closeout out the back. He held with it, and it had some good shape on the inside.
Well, here Schmid got off a big slashing off the top and floated down weightless into the real turbulent channel there. So that's going to be a good high-scoring wave.
On the computer, the scorers read after 3 waves, Gary Elkerton leads Hans Hedemann by just 1.5 points, and here is Elkerton, his 4th and final wave.
Great drop for Gary Elkerton there. Elkerton knows it's the closing minutes of the finals. He also knows this wave will probably be his last scoring ride, so he knows he has to make the most of it. Here he's hanging on for all his worth, trying to get through the inside, find some clean face section to work with there. He gets a good carve off the top. Real critical positioning there where the judges are looking for another big carve, another crank back around. Elkerton really making the most of this wave and looking like a good way to close out the final for him.
Gary Elkerton, runner-up to the world title in 1987, looking for a big win here today. He is in the lead. One more wave to go for Hans Hedemann. It has to be nearly perfect to take over the lead.
Well, this just might be that wave because Hans has found the best-looking wave of the final so far. They're great off-the-top cutback. Nice drive down to the bottom. Here he's going to try to have to hang on and get through to the inside to rack up those points if they have any chance at all of passing Elkerton. And will he be able to do it? Yes. Hans works his way onto the inside. Wave lining back up again here. Some nice, clean, open face. Hans is carving up and down, back and forth, truly shredding. Nice big carve off the top there. Hans setting up another section in front of him. Another big snap off the top. Stalling back in the pocket.
And Hans Hedemann, a gutsy re-entry move on this wave. Hedemann going for broke on the final wave, but let's look at Gary Elkerton's wave, the one that might have clinched it for him.
Well, in this wave, Elkerton was just hanging on. That was so much speed and chop in that wave that he was really just making a look easy here. Just stoked to be able to survive it.
And final wave for Richard Schmid. His wave scores, you can see, 18, 17, 19. A perfect score is 30, and Richard's having trouble on this wave right now. Maintains his balance, though, and he is going to at least go for a 3rd place, maybe a 2nd place finish. Cleans up to the inside. Schmid, no ASP career victory wins, but currently the XL Pro champion here in Hawaii. And a long day for Richard Schmid, nonetheless a good day. And look at this. Here is Hans Hedemann, the crowd favorite, makes his way to the beach. Outstanding surfing. Last time he won here was 1976. And there's the man that might have enough points to win it as well, Gary Elkerton. And here comes rookie Michael Berry, totally exhausted. And right now, Mark Boo's down beachside.
You've been having a great event. That was probably your best heat so far, and an appropriate time in the finals. How do you feel about your performance during that?
Well, I feel good about it. 2 of the opponents in the 4-man heat seemed to be kind of drifting out, and then it seemed like Gary and I were kind of back and back for a while, matching each other for wave for wave. I was kind of lucky in the last couple parts of the heat to get a couple backup waves.
All right, Hans. Well, you look like you're well on your way to reaching that goal. We'll wait till the results.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
We'll be back with the results right after this.
California.
Welcome back to the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing. Mark Fu and David Stanfield bringing you the action here from Sunset Beach. Fourth place going to Michael Mungaberry, the outstanding rookie who didn't exactly perform as well as expected in the final. Third place going to Richard Schmidt out of Santa Cruz. And now the award for first. Gary Elkerton comes in second, and not happy with that. The only man that wouldn't be happy with a second place finish, and winning Hans Hedemann, the winner of this year's World Cup. Now the two-time winner of the World Cup, a local boy who lives on the other side of the island in Kailua. Outstanding victory for Hans Hedemann. The 12th year pro picks up $8,000 and a brand new Geo. And the crowd appreciated his surfing, as well did the judges. Hans Hedemann scoring 27 points on his last wave. An exhausted Hans Hedemann is with Mark Fu right now.
Well, Hans, congratulations. I'm sure, from what I've seen, this has been your greatest victory to date. What do you think?
It's definitely feels good to be back in the winner's circles. And yes, to this date, this present moment, it is one of, a big victory for me. And winning in my backyard and home in Hawaii feels really good. And I'm just really happy to win the event.
Well, it looked like you had it under control with us and everybody on the beach, Hans. Congratulations.
Great. Well, thank you.
And here are the results. Amazing. Hans Hedemann wins 87 points. Gary Elkerton a half a point behind. Hans Hedemann $8,000 richer and a key to a new four-wheel drive Geo Tracker. His second win of World Cup competition. A fantastic finish to a great contest. The Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing once again in the history books. And congratulations to Hans Hedemann, the local from Kailua, Oahu. $8,000 richer, and with a new four-wheel drive automobile, he's got to be happy. He's going to be tooling around this island looking for more good waves.
Well, that was vintage Hans Hedemann surf machine mode right there. And Hans brought one home for Hawaii. Great way to start the Triple Crown.
On behalf of Mark Fu, I'm David Stanfield saying so long from Sunset Beach, Hawaii, and the Hard Rock Cafe World Cup of Surfing. And be sure and watch on ESPN. Next stop, the Marui Pipeline Masters. Accommodation for the cast and crew provided by the Turtle Bay Hilton.